seemingly ordinary dinner with my husband's friends spiraled into an unexpected nightmare. You won't believe the events that unfolded. Remember to give the video a thumbs up, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest tales. It began with an air of simplicity, as such tales frequently unfold, merely a modest dinner. My husband Mark extended an invitation to his old college friend, Andrew, to come over. Mark had been brimming with excitement all week, lost in memories of their youthful adventures, those tales that elicit a chuckle even after hearing them countless times. Andrew found himself in town for a conference, a rare occasion given his residence on the opposite coast. Our paths had crossed on several occasions throughout the years, typically at grand gatherings, weddings, and similar events that he exuded a gentle warmth, a touch of reticence perhaps, yet his kind smile and keen eyes spoke volumes. Nothing, truly nothing, could have equipped me for that night. The abode that Mark and I had meticulously crafted over 3 decades of our union exuded warmth and charm as I added the final touches to the evening meal. The air was thick with the rich scent of roasted chicken and rosemary, intertwining with the delicate, sugary fragrance of the apple pie cooling on the counter. There was a certain solace in these everyday rituals, the steady cadence of slicing vegetables, the inviting heat of the oven, the artistry of crafting a meal meant for sharing. It was my expression of affection, a means of crafting a sanctuary. Unbeknownst to me, this meticulously crafted sanctuary was on the brink of facing a trial, shall we say. As I made my way to summon them to the table, I found Mark already settled in the living room alongside Andrew. The echoes of laughter meandered through the hallway, Mark's resonant and hearty tones mingling with Andrew's softer, more deliberate chuckles as I stepped inside. Andrew rose to his feet with a courteous gesture. He stood tall, his frame more slender than I recalled, with strands of gray peppering his temples that were absent during our last encounter. His eyes remained unchanged, a profound, contemplative blue that appeared to perceive more than what you revealed. "Jessica," he said, his voice a soothing baritone, "everything smells wonderful. I appreciate the opportunity to be here." With a warm smile, I replied, "It's our pleasure, Andrew." Mark has eagerly anticipated this moment throughout the week. The evening meal commenced as it always did. Mark, bless his heart, took charge of the conversation from the outset, weaving together old tales while Andrew listened intently, interjecting with a detail now and then that I absorbed the conversation, chiming in from time to time, relishing the sense of togetherness. Mark's easygoing nature and his remarkable ability to connect with others have always captivated me. Yet, as the meal unfolded, I began to perceive a subtle shift in Andrew. Or perhaps I was perceiving Andrew in a new light. He possessed a unique ability to listen, an enchanting stillness that drew people in. When he spoke, his words were meticulously selected, profound that he posed inquiries, not merely courteous ones, but questions that compelled you to stop and reflect. He inquired about my painting, a fervor I had unearthed anew after the children departed for college. It was likely that Mark had brought it up to him as I spoke of my quaint studio. I described the gentle morning light that danced across the space, the blend of frustration and joy that accompanied my attempts to encapsulate an emotion upon the canvas. He absorbed every word, his eyes unwavering and filled with support. It was not the Kuzmarkari gesture of courteous acknowledgement that he seemed to grasp the subtleties, the silent spaces that lingered between the phrases. Mark, in the meantime, was joyfully indulging in his second serving of pie, occasionally chiming in with a sense of pride. "She's really good, you know, has a true talent for it." At first, it was a mere whisper, this change in the evening's ambience, akin to the air pressure adjusting before an unseen storm brews on the horizon. The dialogue shifted from the lively recollections of college days to delve into more intimate realms. We engaged in a conversation about existence, the journeys embarked upon and those left unexplored, the subtle pleasures and hushed letdowns that weave the fabric of a life. Mark, ever the optimist, chimed in, yet the conversation began to center more on the exchange between Andrew and myself. Not in an exclusionary manner, Mark was present, yet the bond, the current of understanding, appeared to surge more powerfully between Andrew and me. It was unsettling. And if I'm being completely candid, it's also a touch exhilarating. It had been ages since I experienced that kind of intellectual spark, that profound feeling of being genuinely understood. While Mark was indeed a wonderful husband, characterized by his steadiness and love, yet our dialogues had found a soothing cadence, familiar, akin to a cherished armchair that cradles you just right. This experience was unlike any other. The nightmare, which I have since dubbed, did not make its entrance with a dramatic flourish. It slinked in, masquerading as authentic curiosity, a mutual fragility. Andrew started to share his personal journey, reflecting on his career as an architect, while also touching upon a recent sorrow he had faced, the passing of his sister. His words carried a subdued sorrow that struck a profound chord within me. The loss of my brother lingered in the shadows of my heart, a persistent ache that, while softened by the passage of years, remained an indelible part of my being. We engaged in a conversation about grief, not in whispered, uneasy voices, but with candor, delving into its peculiar terrain. Mark, typically skilled at traversing the complexities of emotions, appeared somewhat adrift. He listened intently, his expression one of sympathy, yet he refrained from fully engaging in that specific thread of conversation. He replenished the wine glasses, removed a few plates, his actions slightly more calculated than necessary, perhaps. It was in that moment, as Andrew's blue eyes met mine, revealing a raw and unguarded emotion, that he asked, "You understand, don't you, Jessica, what it feels like to harbor that space within?" As the initial tremor of unease coursed through me. It was not merely his words that captivated me, but the fervor that accompanied them, the sensation that he was peering into a hidden corner of my soul that I seldom revealed. I merely nodded, momentarily rendered speechless, a lump rising in my throat. The dining room radiated a warmth that seemed to pulse, the atmosphere laden with unvoiced sentiments. The once straightforward dinner had transformed into something far more complex. It was transforming into something altogether different, something I couldn't quite articulate, yet I felt with an unsettling clarity that the night was just beginning and that it would alter everything. The delicate strain had finally manifested into words, addressing me with an unmistakable clarity. As I began to clear away the remaining plates, a subtle tremor coursed through my hands. Mark recounted a tale from a fishing trip, attempting to lift the atmosphere, or perhaps he simply hadn't perceived the change as deeply as I did. Yet, Andrew's eyes held mine for just a heartbeat longer before he shifted his attention back to Mark, a courteous smile gracing his lips. It felt as though a veil had momentarily been drawn back, exposing a concealed performance, only to descend once more in an instant. Yet, I had witnessed it, and there was no turning back from that vision. The apple pie lingered, half consumed, its sugary essence clashing with the intricate, faintly bitter flavor that was starting to emerge in my mouth. What was unfolding in this moment? What was it that stirred within me? A peculiar blend of trepidation and an exhilarating sense of the forbidden. The nightmare was yet to unfold, yet the groundwork was unmistakably being laid. As the evening unfolded, the three of us retreated to the living room once more. Mark, perhaps attuned to my earlier unease, or merely fatigued from a long week, began to yawn with increasing regularity. He had always risen with the dawn. He made several attempts to draw Andrew back into lighter conversation. Sports, politics, the usual topics, but the persistent echo of our earlier discussion hung in the air, rendering small talk nearly insignificant. Andrew exhibited a courteous demeanor and was quick to respond, yet I sensed his focus continually returning to me, not in an overt or inappropriate manner. Yet there existed a subtle awareness, a quiet recognition of the emotional terrain we had traversed together. I began to scrutinize him with greater intensity. The manner in which his hands danced through the air as he spoke, the subtle crease that formed on his brow when deep in contemplation. He possessed a subtle intensity that drew one in, yet, if I'm truthful, it was also somewhat disquieting. It wasn't that I felt a typical attraction to him, or at least I refrained from viewing it through that lens. It was a sensation of familiarity, as though an aspect of myself, previously unacknowledged, was being summoned to the forefront. Mark, dear soul, finally declared his intention to retire for the night. "You two carry on," he said, stifling a wide yawn as he patted Andrew on the shoulder. "Do not allow this elderly gentleman to hinder your opportunity for a proper reunion. Jessica, try not to linger too long in the night. Affection." He pressed his lips to my forehead, a gesture steeped in familiarity and comfort, before making his way upstairs. As the echoes of his footsteps dwindled, the ambience of the living room transformed entirely. It grew stiller, infused with a palpable tension. The silence that enveloped the scene was far from void. It brimmed with the unsaid. I occupied my time, futilely adjusting the cushions on the sofa. "Would you care for another cup of coffee, Andrew?" I inquired, my tone ringing with an unnatural brightness, a hint of artifice that I could detect even in my own ears. He slowly shook his head, his gaze unwavering as it locked onto mine. "And oh, thank you, Jessica. I am well." He took a moment, then continued, "Mark is a good man. Your life here is truly delightful." It was a straightforward declaration, yet it lingered in the atmosphere, laden with significance. Was he drawing a comparison with his own existence, or was there an underlying message he sought to convey? "Indeed, he is," I responded gently. "We have been exceedingly fortunate." Yet, as the words escaped my lips, a sense of incompleteness lingered in the air. Indeed, fortunate. Primarily, content. Yet, was there an aspect of my being that longed for something greater, something beyond the ordinary? A profound bond one had not recognized as absent. These were perilous musings, reflections I had not summoned the courage to explore for years. Andrew appeared to perceive the subtle currents of my inner turmoil. Being fortunate doesn't necessarily equate to an easy path, does it? He spoke, his tone soft and soothing. Or perhaps wholly satisfying. My breath hitched. It felt as though he had delved into the depths of my mind, extracting a thought I had yet to fully articulate. How could he possibly know? Or was I imposing my own emotions onto his expressions? This was the moment, I believe, when the unassuming dinner began its metamorphosis into something altogether different. The courtesy lingered, yet beneath the surface, a different dialogue began to unfold. One that was deeply personal and fraught with danger. A shiver of dread coursed through me, an instinctual urge to seek refuge in the known, to the comforting embrace of familiarity. Yet, there existed a tug, an intrigue, a yearning to grasp the unfolding events, both within him and deep within my own being. He remained at a distance, his silence unbroken, yet the closeness in the room hung thickly in the air, nearly overwhelming. It was a closeness forged in shared ideas, an unvoiced comprehension, and it proved to be more disconcerting than any overt gesture could have ever been. The nightmare I was starting to grasp was not destined to revolve around creatures or chaos. It was destined to explore the confrontation of truths, the intricacies of the human heart, and the unforeseen journeys life can take you on, even when you believe you are securely traveling along a familiar path. As I sat across from Andrew, the silence expanding like a vast chasm between us, I felt the unmistakable pull of a decision looming, ready to lead me away from the familiar path. He leaned in just a bit, not intrusively, but as if to bridge a fraction of the meticulously preserved space that lay between us. "Jessica," he started, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "may I speak to you with complete honesty? There's a thought I hesitate to express." Yet, he paused, studying my expression, maybe seeking approval, or perhaps a hint that I wouldn't suddenly flee. My heart pounded relentlessly within the confines of my ribs. What words were about to escape his lips? A fragment of my being yearned to intervene, to dismiss it with laughter, to steer the conversation elsewhere, to feign that this moment was not unfolding. Yet, there existed another facet, a more powerful and demanding aspect that craved understanding. I gave a slight nod, a subtle gesture, yet it conveyed everything needed. The atmosphere was electric. The haunting vision was on the brink of being articulated. As Andrew spoke, his eyes steady and focused, he revealed that when Mark mentions you, he speaks of your kindness, your unwavering loyalty, and your remarkable talents. Indeed, he speaks the truth. I perceive all of that. He lingered in silence, and I found myself holding my breath. Yet what I perceive, Jessica, is a profoundness, a solitude, one that feels familiar, a quest of sorts. It seems to me that he remains oblivious, or perhaps, if he is aware, he fails to grasp its significance. My thoughts spun wildly. Isolation. in pursuit of something? Was I truly that clear? Or was he merely an astutely observant individual? Or perhaps a more skeptical notion crossed my mind. Was he simply adept at making women feel truly seen? Yet, there was an authenticity to his sincerity that was truly disarming. The sincerity in his eyes as he recounted his sister's death was unmistakable, a truth that could not be fabricated. I found myself at a loss for words, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. The space abruptly shrank, the thoughtfully selected lamps projecting elongated, flickering shadows that appeared to reflect the chaos within me. He was not suggesting that Mark was guilty of neglect or anything similar. It was a more intricate observation, delving into the various layers of an individual, revealing how, at times, even those nearest to us perceive only the exterior. Or perhaps they perceive only what aligns with their desires, what brings them solace. "You need not say a word," Andrew responded softly. This evening, I sensed a profound bond with you, Jessica. A genuine connection transcending mere social niceties, surpassing the roles of being Mark's wife and Mark's friend." "Did you really? Did you experience something akin to that?" There it was, the question that lingered in the atmosphere, crackling with intensity. Did I truly experience it? Undoubtedly, I sensed it. The sensation was a blend of terror and exhilaration, a confusing turmoil that had been intensifying throughout the evening. Tio refuse acknowledgement would be a falsehood, not merely to him, but to my own self as well. Yet, to acknowledge it, what implications would that carry? To what destination might that guide us? This marked the edge of the abyss. This was the moment when the nightmare began to materialize, not as an abrupt terror, but as a gradual awakening to the unsettling truth that my meticulously arranged existence was shifting beneath me. Here, in the shared recognition of a bond, the consensual aspect of this unforeseen experience began to take shape. The emotional depth was undeniably profound. My personal discovery was accelerating rapidly. I inhaled deeply, each breath measured and intentional, seeking to find my balance. The grandfather clock in the hall resonated with a pronounced tick, each sound a poignant reminder of time's relentless march, of fleeting moments that held the power to alter destinies. What was it that I intended to express? What was it that I intended to do? The uncomplicated dinner had faded into the recesses of memory. This experience was unlike anything I had encountered before, and I found myself at the very center of it, surrounded by uncertainty, with no discernible way ahead, merely an awareness of a significant transformation on the horizon. At last, I locked eyes with him, my own revealing a blend of trepidation and an emerging, inescapable truth. "Indeed," I murmured, the sound scarcely slipping from my mouth. "Indeed, Andrew," I sensed it as well. As soon as the words left my lips, an overwhelming sense of relief enveloped me, only to be swiftly succeeded by a new tide of panic. The point of no return had been reached. The confession lingered in the air, charged and inescapable. Andrew's face remained stoic, yet there was a subtle shift in his demeanor, a glimmer of comprehension, maybe even a hint of fragility, reflected in his gaze. He merely inclined his head, as though acknowledging a deep, unarticulated reality. The silence that ensued was not merely uncomfortable. It was imbued with the profound significance of their mutual revelation. The nightmare, as it unfolded, revealed that it wasn't centered on him, nor was it driven by any external menace. It was a moment of stark, chilling awareness of my own concealed desires, the facets of my being I had securely tucked away, and the unforeseen key that had just been set in motion. The dinner party had concluded, yet the true narrative, my narrative of an unforeseen and profoundly emotional unraveling, was only just commencing. It was already a labyrinth of complexities, far more disquieting than any creature lurking beneath the bed. The creature lurking inside me, a yearning for a bond one had yet to acknowledge, now confronted me boldly.